Welcome to the channel, everybody, and thank you for joining me here. Core Keeper is a really fantastic game with multiplayer co-op, great animation, good for the family. So I thought I'd share with you some tips that I wish I had known before I started playing, just to kind of help you smooth out your journey and have a bit more fun as you go along. So with that said, I should also mention that Core Keeper is in early access still, so some information might change over time, but most of the tips I'm going to give you just concern core gameplay mechanics, which aren't necessarily apparent to newer players who haven't read up on the game beforehand. So with that said, let's jump into it. So the first tip is concerning the map itself. When you start out a new game, this is where you'll appear. This is the core of the world itself. So Core Keeper is based on a circular map structure, which is very unique and interesting and a lot of fun to explore. Now, to get a better idea of what that looks like, since we can't see any of the map here on a brand new character, let's flip over to a character I've got a little bit more exploration done with. Don't worry, there won't be any spoilers, but I just want to kind of give you an idea of the world setup. Alrighty, well, as you can see, this is a bit more well developed here. The core is lit up and everything. We won't go into the details too much, but I just want to hit that map button and show you. This is a very large world, so even with this character, I've only barely scratched the surface of what's going on here. But as you can see, there is a circular orange line here. That's a natural tunnel that will occur in your world too, and you will discover it as you move out from the core here at the very center where we are. The second tip after the map information regards to the first three bosses you'll discover. So these bosses are naturally occurring in the world itself. In other words, you could just come across them on your first day of exploration. If that happens, don't worry, you can just back away from it and return for another time when you've got more gear and stuff. But if you do happen to come across a boss, come down to the little legend here, select whatever icon you want to use to mark that location on your map, and then hit the middle mouse button, the same button you used to scroll in and out with, but instead of scrolling, click that, and you can put markers on the map just for different locations, including bosses you might happen to come across. Alright, and this next tip is one I definitely wish I had known when I first started off. As you're exploring around the map, you're going to encounter walls, which you'll use your pickaxe to get through, obviously, but you are also going to encounter water and voids, pits, such as this one right in front of me. Now you can, once you get your crafting table up and running, you can go ahead and build bridge sections, which allow you to cross over this kind of thing. In addition, it'll also allow you to cross over natural water areas as well, which is extremely helpful when you're exploring. But the shovel itself can be very helpful. If you don't have any bridge sections, you can actually dig up the land yourself by selecting your shovel and then right clicking a square. Now this does leave behind an empty pit in the area that you dug, but then you can come back around and take that floor section and fill in other areas of the pit you might want to cross. Same with water. So it's an extremely effective way of covering ground which you can't normally get to, especially if you forget to build some bridges. And I'll point out that you can also transplant soil and stuff like that. So as you can see, I've got some dirt soil up here that I'm using as a garden, and it's inside this meadow. So I literally had to come through and dig up this little rectangular shape of meadow, and then I transplanted a nice little dirt patch here so I could have a farm real close to my front door. So that's the tip right there. Just make sure that you craft and use your shovel when necessary. Alright, and this next tip I'd like to share with you is concerning the different kinds of quote-unquote cattle that you will find in the game. So there's three different types. We see two of them represented here, and these two are typically found in this nice yellow meadow type biome. So if you discover one of these as you're exploring, keep your eyes peeled for some of these tameable creatures here. So the way that you will tame these and get them back to your base is first thing by finding out what kind of food they like and holding it in your hand, luring them Minecraft style just right back to wherever you want them to go. Now, one thing to keep in mind is, you can see both of them are attracted to this. If they get too close, they will actually eat the food from your hand. So keep that in mind. Come with more than just 1 or 2 berries. And if you really only have the one, then just stay ahead of them and don't let them get close enough to actually eat the food out of your hand. Now, before you get your animals back to base, you're going to want to make sure that you have some sort of enclosure set up to keep them nice and safe. A couple pieces of information I want to point out here, which may change with future patches. The first one is that animals don't respawn on the map. So if I had left these 2 critters back there in their old biome and they got killed by some monsters or whatever, they wouldn't respawn. So they are very valuable at this point in this stage of the development of the game. If you find them, get them back to your place and keep them nice and safe. Now, once you've got them, you're going to want to bring them to an enclosure, as I mentioned. There are fences in the game you can build, but I recommend using walls at this point. I've read around that the fences don't really work as well as they should, and your animals will still get killed. Again, this might change or get fixed in the future, but just to be extra safe, use some wood walls or something like I've done here around my enclosure. And after that's all set up, just build yourself a trough using some bronze bars. You can access the trough and put different kinds of food in it here. This will allow your animals not to breed necessarily, but they will start to shed wool in the case of the ram, and the cow over here will shed milk. And they're both either crafting or different buff items, so they're very valuable, especially as you progress and get late game. So I highly recommend setting up a little farm area for your cattle. Okay, and for this tip, I want to talk about crafting. Core Keeper has a really great mechanic that makes crafting super efficient and easy, especially on your inventory management. But it wasn't immediately apparent to me when I first started playing the game that you could do this. So I want to share it with you guys, and it's definitely going to influence how you set up your base. And like I say, it's going to make inventory management a lot easier. So the first part of this is we'll look at these 2 crafting table and anvil that I've got set down here. So if we take a look at my inventory, I've got no materials in here to craft with, right? Pretty empty. So if I select this, as you might expect, none of this stuff is highlighted. None of the crafting recipes available can be chosen or used because I don't have any materials in my inventory, right? So in other words, just like in most games, you'd have to come over to your chests, get the crafting bars and stuff you need and put them in your inventory, then walk back to the table and say, oh wait, I forgot, I still need one more, and then come back. But no, not in Core Keeper. You don't have to do any of that. So if we take a look up here with this particular setup, I've got a double chest here, but don't be thrown off by that. If you haven't discovered double chests yet, don't worry, you will after you defeat some bosses. And this tip does work with single chests too. It's just you can have more crafting tables attached, so that's why we've got a double here. But as you can see, I've put all my crafting stuff, my metal bars, the glass I need, wood, things of that nature, the slime, it's all in this chest. And again, nothing's in my inventory. So if I come up to my crafting table, you can see that everything here is available, at least the things I have materials for, in the chest. So there's no going back and forth and checking what you need or what you have access to. As long as you got it in the chest, you'll be able to build it. And that does bring me to my next tip here. In case you just noticed this for the first time, there are a couple of arrows on the side that will allow you to scroll through whatever particular crafting station you're at. It will allow you to scroll through the different levels that you've already accessed. So here you can see I've already built a basic one, so I can scroll to that and pick out whatever I need. And this is the Octarine workbench too, so that's to keep in mind. We've got the bronze one here, we've got the tin, and of course it goes to iron, then scarlet, and here's the level we're at right now. And this is true for anvils and anything else that has the progression within it. So that's just something, couple tips that really make life easier when you're crafting a Core Keeper. And of course it does work with food too. As you can see, I've got a chest here set up with the different foods. All you have to do, as long as you know the recipes for whatever kind of food you want and you've already experimented a little bit, just come in here, click the recipe, and it will literally take the items out of the chest and put them into your cooking pot. And there you go, guys. So that makes crafting so efficient. Again, something I wish I had known right from the start of the game, but I hope it helps you guys out. In fact, I hope this video has helped you. If it has, hit that like button for me. It really helps me grow the channel. Also, I hope you'll consider subscribing. We do daily uploads here, and leave me some comments below if you'd like to see another video with some tips that I forgot about, something you've discovered on your journey here at Core Keeper. Let me know. I'm always up for another video, guys. So I appreciate everybody stopping by, and I will see you on the next one.